Hey everyone, to the another vlog, and today I want to talk about trying hard versus living softly. So this is more of an improv vlog, which is quite fitting for the theme, right? Because obviously preparing hard and detailing everything and preparing for everything to say it's more close to the theme of trying hard, right, as opposed to just living softly. So I think we've basically all had this experience of like basically being very tense about something, but really wanting something and trying really hard, preparing for everything, preparing for every detail, and it just doesn't really seem to work. Honestly, it doesn't seem to work. Because trying hard is also linked with tension and expectations, especially. Right? So in my last few vlogs of like the previous period, I talked quite a lot about expectations and how expectations, they really make you miserable when you're so paralyzed by them, like you have all the weight of your expectations before you try even to get to work, and it's really not fun. And I think trying hard is very linked with this tension in me. It's quite stiff, right? In the word hard and stiff, like it's uh it's really just, to me, the same sensation of like desperation and really need something to get done, which is rarely the case, I would say, in life. I would say in life there's really a sense of like, this thing needs to be exactly this way, or else not really. In general, not much happens, right? If you don't do exactly what you plan to do. But I think like when you get into this mode of trying hard, this can kind of become the illusion that things need to go according to the plan, according to the mold, going to your expectations and all that. And it's not a very enjoyable way to live life. And more importantly, I would say it's not even really an effective way to get things done. So the way we get programmed to live and to get things done in this society is basically trying hard, right? Uh, in my experience, it doesn't really lead to good results. Like people don't really do well that well in school. They don't really understand things well. They're not really productive or like consistent in their work. They just, like, for me, trying hard is really like this sense of like creating tension in someone so that they at least do a bare minimum of something, right? So I think school in general is very much about the bare minimums. You get like this threshold of grades, or like 50% or 60%, and then once you're above that, like you're not super rewarded in some ways. Well, you kind of are, right? But like in a really abstract way. But if you're under that threshold, then you're heavily punished. So like there's incentive to be like above the threshold and to be somewhat comfortably above it. But like it's mostly seems to me about like enforcing a threshold that makes not that you are punished if you don't meet the quota. Um, and this is how the way work uh, functions as well. Deadlines and things to goals and all that. And it's in my experience, it's not a very effective way to get things done. In the short term, it might work. Even then, it's quite questionable, honestly. In the long term, it definitely doesn't work. I would say because the pushing strategy is very exhausting. It's not enjoyable, and when you do things that are not enjoyable and exhausting, you will burn out. It's not a matter of when. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And you see that all the time, right? Like people are just incredibly fucking tired, and I think this way of living is quite responsible for that. And so, what is the alternative then? What is the alternative to trying so hard? Well, the alternative is soft living. So perhaps one way in which it's easier to get this felt difference, and not just as a concept, but a really felt experience of distinction between those two things is when it comes to attention. So we could talk about, for example, hard attention versus soft attention. So hard attention is really like focused, detailed, with strong intent. So for example, you're trying to decipher what something is saying from afar, or like you're really examining the details of a subject in front of you. So maybe a house or a person, and you're really focusing on the details. But like you really want to see what's there, and you can even see that in people's facial expression. Like they start um, I don't remember what's the word. Like, they start like tensing the eyebrows, and frowning. Is that what the word is? And yeah, it's even if you pay attention to people's face, you can definitely notice when they go into hard attention mode. And the opposite of hard attention mode is soft attention mode. So instead of trying to focus on a specific detail in front of you, and it's also, you could also call that tunnel vision when it gets bad. Like people just completely unaware of things around them. Soft attention is the opposite. So it's like, people relax their faces usually and they take in more of the scenery, taking more of the taking more of their vision, right? So they actually pay attention to the peripheral vision, for example, rather than just their central vision. And they can just notice more things, right? And they don't really have this expectation of like trying to get something done. So it's more in the sense of like relaxation, really. But like it's funny because in the West, relaxation is always in the hard mode. Actually, like it's really funny how relaxation has turned into like kind of this, yeah, this hard mode relaxation where like people really try to relax, like they go on holidays that are really stressful and all that. And so honestly, a lot of Westerners, including myself, my past self, don't really know what relaxation is. Honestly, like they actually don't know because they're so fucking tense all the time. But this is what soft attention is. So it's more in the sense of taking a scenery, relaxing, being in the present moment, and just yeah, you don't really have an aim. Like it's like you're looking at the clouds and you don't really have like an aim to get things done. And I think from the description I gave about soft and hard attention, it's quite clear that the world we live in, the Western world, is very, very hard. It's all about hardness. It's all about punishment for if you don't get things done, and creating this deadline and objective. And it's very toxic. It's really unenjoyable to live. I think everyone can agree that the all of this basically being whipped, right, to do things. It's not enjoyable way to get things done. And my what I would argue is that it's not even an effective way to get things done. My most productive uh, periods of my life were where I didn't really take this approach of like trying so fucking hard and really like feeling putting all this pressure on myself. It was more when I guess it's kind of a third thing that I did. It's not really trying hard or living softly. What I did was more of a third thing, which is setting up an environment that helped me do the thing. Right? So this is the thing that you learn from the book Atomic Habits, which is that instead of trying to do the thing, you just make your environment easier. You just make the thing easier to do, especially to get started, right? Because getting started is usually the point where that's kind of the make or break point. And that's kind of how you get things done. Is you just make it easier for you to do, and you make it more enjoyable. And I guess that third way leans closer to living softly than trying hard. Like it's not in the middle. I would say it leans more closely to the soft part of living, which is the general idea is basically that if doing the thing is enjoyable and makes you more relaxed or makes you more fulfilled, then you will naturally gravitate towards it, which is very different from the mindset of school that school programs us, which is that if you don't have a teacher, if you don't have rules, if you don't have punishment, that people will simply not work. This is the assumption that school and society at large operates with, which is highly, highly questionable. It should at least be questioned, and in my opinion, it's completely bullshit. It's simply a way of justifying people to not do the thing. And because here's the thing, right? It is true that if you didn't have a teacher to punish you, people wouldn't do schoolwork. But here's the thing: schoolwork is bullshit in the first place. This is the problem. This is the root problem that school would never admit, and that happens throughout every organization in society. The reason why people don't do the things that benefit society is because they are not what people want to do. People want to learn, they don't want to do schoolwork. Those two things are completely different. People don't want to work for a company, they want to focus on their craft. They want to really learn something that is uh, unique and important to them. They don't want to fucking do bullshit work in front of a computer that help some fucking people they've never seen in their life make more money. That's not what people want to do. And so, of course, from society's point of view, it's completely right. If there were no rules and no punishment, no one would do the school work or the company work and all that. But that's because this is not what people want to do. and it programs people with the idea, and it's really a subtle idea. It definitely is something that I kind of had in the back of my mind that if I don't have ways to like get myself to do things then I will never do it. And some people are completely ruled by this belief. They never really examine it whether it's true or not. That if you don't punish yourself in a way, then you will never get things done. But this is not true. It's not true. For me, it's absolutely not true. There might be a period. I think there might. It's very possible that there might be a period where like you don't do much. It's very possible, but I think once you can find the ways to just really make it easier to do the thing, right? If it's something you genuinely enjoy, I think you will naturally gravitate towards it. I don't really believe in this whole thing that's, that harness is the only way to get things done. Now, of course, I, I think there's very much an importance in like the environment setup, right? I wouldn't try to like completely go, like 100% no preparation or whatever, but I think it's important to have like environments that promote doing the thing. So there are many ways in which you can have an environment that promotes the thing. In general, when it's easy to start, that makes a huge difference. So not having to set up your tools to draw. That's it might seem like a small difference, but actually it makes a pretty big difference. Because again, it's all about getting started usually. And I think another point of environment is often having like a supportive environment instead of people. So doing something by yourself over a long period of time is really, really hard. It's in my experience, it doesn't really make sense to even try. Like you could do the same thing more easily, and perhaps you could probably do even more things if you just found people to do, to draw with, for example, like or to write with, for example, right? So and by drawing with and writing with, I don't necessarily mean like collaborate, but simply be there for one another and find other artists' presence, for example. Yeah, so it's I think that's really like the type of thing I would gravitate towards. It's like setting up an environment that helps doing the thing. Uh, and then when you have the environment, you don't need to be so fucking obsessive and like specific and deliberate and so on. You just do the thing, and I think that's a much more enjoyable and effective way to live life, in my opinion. Because a lot of the times, it really is not the end of the world if things don't fall into exactly your predestined plan that you had. Like it really is not. Like just think of how many times you didn't achieve the exact thing you wanted, and it was actually just fine. Like oftentimes it's actually even better, honestly, because like there are things that we want that we don't really realize we want. Like for example, maybe you just realize that you don't enjoy doing a thing as much as you believed you wanted to do. Right? So you can have this identity that you want to like be a server or whatever, or like you can have like this identity that you want to be to meditate, for example. But then you realize that you don't really enjoy meditating. Like maybe you just enjoy something else, such as bouldering. Maybe bouldering is your form of meditation, for example, right? Like you could imagine someone who doesn't really enjoy sitting still and meditating, but they really enjoy like bouldering because it gives them the same sense of like being one with the boulder, or like the climbing wall, instead of because it suits them more, maybe like it's you know uh, there's always this sense of that trying hard is also linked with sort of trying to over specify your life in a way, that you are trying to define your life beforehand, before actually experiencing, which is not how life works. Life is not a plan. It can never be a plan, because life is way too complex. You don't know yourself and so on. And also would really rob it of its beauty, right? Like if life was just a plan, like a series of going from A to B to C, it would be really fucking boring. And yeah, I think this is how I would end it, which is that trying hard it's not enjoyable, and it really robs us of all the mystery and joy of life. Like I don't like to like put children too much on a pedestal, because children also have, in many ways, they're not role models, but children in many ways are kind of psychopathic in a way. Like they're not really people you would want to bother your life about. But I think there's very much a sense in which children have many important qualities that unconscious adults don't, which is that children represent what human beings do when they're like when they haven't been programmed so much by society yet. They're they're just very very curious, joyous, and full of energy, full of they want to do plenty of things, right? Children want to learn so many things, and they haven't even before they go into school and this whole process of quote unquote learning and quote unquote education. For me, children show that there is always this innate desire to learn things and to do things and to grow. Like it's not like that those things are not things that you need to pressure people into doing. It's a really toxic assumption that our society creates. And if not disagreeing with it, I think people should at least question it. No, should seriously question it all the time. Whether people actually need pressure and tension and trying hard to get things done. I personally don't agree, but the it's it's a personal reflection, right? So that's everything I have to say. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you next vlog.